This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Do I sound all right on your end?
You sound fucking great, Ty.
Oh, jeez. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. You sound well as well.
You sound great, man. You can always tell the podcaster mics from other people.
Well, see, it's interesting you say that. I did a guest spot on a show, a YouTube show, maybe about 6 or 8 months ago, and they were getting going, but the sound quality between a couple of hosts was crazy. And then every now and again they'd get a guest, and you could barely hear them. So I'm driving across the highway trying to listen. You hear the host ask a question, and then it was mumble silence for the next, minute or so. It was horrible.
Yeah, see, and I'm a perfectionist.
Sure, you should be.
So I can't put out and there's a blessing and a fault when you're a perfectionist. I can't put out. I love that sound, by the way. I can't put out anything that I wouldn't listen to myself.
Big time.
So, like, if I'm listening, like, you should have saw, I wish I had the picture. I was showing my buddy, I do my editing in Adobe, and I was sending him, I'm like, this is my edit. And you could see the sliver, like, because there was an issue, the guys, it was a great podcast, they were from Iowa, but we had a delay, and I had to match. I was doing some fucking magic I didn't even know I was capable of doing. I'm like fucking moving shit. I'm like cutting shit from like a minute ago, but putting it like, dude, it was, at the end, I'm like, I am really good at this. But it took me way too long. It took me way too long. But anyway, this is the Drink O'Clock podcast. I think this is going to be fun. So I have Ty, JT, let's see if I could do it. Zapletel.
Close. Zaplatel.
Zaplatel. Yeah,
you got
You're
her.
Canadian, right?
I am so, yes. How can you tell?
All right. Dude, I listened to a couple of your episodes, and I die laughing every time because when you guys say about, it's like a boot. And I'm like, I fucking love it. I love it. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I fucking love it. But I know that when people in other countries or even fucking Midwest or whatever, when they hear me, they're like, you have an accent. I'm like, I have no idea how that happens, but I can imagine so. Especially half the words we fucking say.
Where are you, Rob?
Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah. So,
US.
I mean, you're really not that far from me. I'm in Eastern Ontario. I mean, if you go the way the bird flies, I mean, you might be like 8 or 10, maybe 8 hours to get there, but that's really not that bad.
No, it's not bad at all. And, So let's say who you are. So you're the creator and the host of the Tie That Binds podcast, and I do always like to start this by doing a little bit of a cheer. So I did hear a crack. I don't know if you're drinking.
Sure am.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Is that a Labatt Blue?
You want to believe it's a Labatt Blue?
Let's go.
Cheers, brother. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, bro.
That's exactly what I'm drinking. I got a cup more on the desk in behind my laptop here, but I actually went to the liquor store here in Ontario. We're governed by a bit of a monopoly when it comes to the alcohol sales. So I went to the liquor store to get one of my local in-town brewers, but they were sold out. So I went to the brewery itself, Wildcard Brewing, shout out to them in Trenton, Ontario, and they were closed. So I had to stick with Old Faithful. I got a couple cans of Labatt Blue, and that's what I'm repping right now.
That's fucking epic. It's funny because my fiance, she was a promo girl. She still does it here and there, and Labatt Blue was one of her accounts. And we would go to bars sometimes. She would do her thing. She's the pretty one. And I would just kind of show up and sit, and I would get free Labatt just for being there. It's like,
fantastic.
Hey, I'll take a pint or whatever, especially when it's free,
When you're offered free booze, you can't refuse.
That should be on my fucking gravestone. But dude, it's a pleasure having you on. I listened to some of your podcast, and I really wanted, this show's about you. So my really kind of my main question, then I want to stick with, and then we could go off in tangents and shit, is the origins of your podcast kind of how you came up with the concept, because you have kind of an interesting concept where you talk about a specific topic or topics, and then you kind of tie it back to like your opening statement almost. Which I thought was pretty unique.
That's exactly what I do, or we do, when I have guests in the studio. The name, The Tie That Binds podcast, came from... So my dad is an immigrant to Canada from Czechoslovakia. So part of the beer drinking in me comes from the Czech side, which that's what they do. So he has an unofficial Canadian brother named Matt, and he was a big part of my childhood. And he always called me The Tie That Binds, apart from the Johnny Cash song. There's a line, I look out for the tie that binds. And then I think it's something, I walk the line. So we always kind of reference that. And just as I get older, it's almost like he's seen something in me, as weird as that may sound. So as I get older, I find myself in my personal life thinking about how can I tie everything back together again, because it seems like to me it happens naturally in nature. So the name seemed to make a lot of sense to me. And as for the show itself, last November I was at my brother's wedding. And we have a mutual friend, and we were in the groom's party, or groomsmen, or whatever it's called. And I had been talking about writing a book, like I want to say like an autobiography, but like a memoir type thing of some of the things that I've learned in my relatively short life, for no particular reason than just because I think, why not? I feel like I'm well spoken and maybe well read enough that I can coerce my way through to write a book. And Spencer, he called me out on it. He's like, "Where's the fucking book, Ty? You keep talking about it. How you coming?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm not writing this book right now." So as we're passing a bottle around the night before the wedding, he's like, "Man, maybe if you did a podcast, maybe it might become more natural to you." And that was last November. And first of the year, I said, "You know what? I'm just doing it." And with very little prep, I just jumped in and just said, "Fucking let's do it." And here we are doing it.
That's awesome, dude. So, I feel like some of the best things that you do or end up doing come after a night of just like full-on debauchery, right? It's like you have this little like seed that gets planted, and then before you know it, it's almost like the booze is like your soil, And then you wake up, you're like, Jesus, hold on, I remember that great idea I had, and then you fucking just roll with it. I feel like there's been multiple times in my life where we've had some of the best ideas have come from like a wedding, like, cause you're drinking a shit ton, especially if it's an open bar or whatever, it's like, this probably makes me sound like an alcoholic, but hopefully you agree with me, Ty.
No, you know what? No, I totally agree. And there was just good guys in the room, and we were having fun, spitballing ideas, and it came organically. Some of the material that I've been covering came up that night. This particular guy, Spencer, he's on the West Coast. He's on the front lines of curing cancer. He told me next time he comes home to the area, he's going to come into the studio and I'll pick his brain and have a good chat with him. And I mean, that's to be determined when that is. But some of the content came from that. Some of my life lessons that I've learned and things that I think about. And some episodes are longer than others. Some are certainly better than others. But it's been a boatload of fun. And something I never really thought would be so easy is getting people on. For me, so far, has been a breeze. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's been really easy for me. And most of my shows are actually in person. So I get people actually to come to my house into the studio, and they're totally cool to do it.
So I think that's an interesting concept. I think, and I say this in the nicest way possible, but Canadian people, I feel like, compared to us, are a lot nicer and a little bit more trusting.
Maybe.
Like compared to us, and I'm comparing Philadelphians, okay, not necessarily United States people, because we here in Philadelphia are very distrustful people. I talked about this on my last podcast, but we're in Alabama, and people were waving at us because people in Alabama, a lot of people in the South are just really nice. And they're waving at us, and the first thought that comes to my mind is, well, what the fuck's wrong with me? Or, I got something on, is there a note stuck on my back? Or it's like, these are the things coming up, and it's like, no, they're just fucking nice people, and they're waving at us, from across the side.
They're just trying to be polite. They're just trying to be polite.
Yeah. Just trying to be polite, but it's not natural to us because here, not just in the States, but especially like in an area like Philadelphia, it's like there's been so many people that you have to distrust that you just distrust everybody. So it's like the person that's the grandmom that's super nice will be the first person to fucking rob you blind. I actually had my car broken into, and I don't know how the fuck they did it. I think somebody scanned my key fob. So like that's like a new technology where if you're within, like, I keep my coat rack by the garage and my car is parked in the driveway. So if you're within like 500 feet, someone can scan your key fob, and then they can fucking just open your car like they have your own key fob.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of that up here too. It's like, God, get a better way of life, man.
It's like, dude, I go out, look, okay, I'm not rich, I'm an average, middle class person here, and I bust my ass, and I come out, I'm getting ready to fucking go to work, and like I open my door, and all my shit is everywhere, and I'm like, okay, so either I was really drunk and I didn't know that I was drunk, or someone just robbed the shit out of me. And I'm looking over, they stole. I kept my wallet in my car, which is just, it was something I've always done because I guess, like, I don't know how you feel, but
that's not a wise move.
I know.
Now that
but
you're walletless, you know this.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. So I'll tell the story about my wallet in general, but for me, my car is my safe space. It's where I spend an hour and a half to 2 hours of my day. I do a lot of driving. It's the only alone time typically I get throughout the whole day. So like I zone out. I do my own thing. So I just always kept I have I don't have it on me. I have a Ridge wallet, and it's just it holds all my cards and my phone. So my phone keeps the two major things, right? So it keeps my wallet and my debit card. So I always have my phone on me no matter what, which was nice because if it was in my fucking wallet, I would have been fucked. I would have been so fucked.
Oh yeah, big time.
But these kids broke in. I guess I had some gift cards in my fucking compartment, whatever. I had my wallet. I might have had $20 in cash or random shit. They stole all of it. And so I had to file a police report. And then a school that's right down the street from me calls me, says, "Hey, we found your wallet." And I'm like, "What?" They're like, "We found your wallet. Are you Robert Valencia?" I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, "Yeah, it has all your cards in it, whatever." Well, meanwhile, these motherfuckers, within a 12-hour period, dude, from them getting into my car and chucking my wallet, they charged like $3,000 on my credit cards. Easy. And it was like Wawa, which is a convenience store here. They bought shit from Best Buy, all this crazy shit. And I'm like, I was impressed, actually. Have you ever had your fucking wallet stolen or your car broken into? It just feels like you get back into your car and it just feels wrong. It's a weird feeling.
Oh, I totally get it. My wife had her car broken into at a house we used to live in, and there was nothing of any importance in there. There could have been, like a McDonald's coffee card that was 3/4 filled up with stamps, and maybe a couple of bucks in the ashtray or whatever. But it's hard to shake that feeling knowing that somebody was in your driveway, inside of something you own, for their gain. Yeah, it's bullshit.
And I say this all the time, but people just fucking suck. And it doesn't matter what country you're in. I feel like people just suck in general. But anyway, I think it's impressive you get people to come to your house. That's cool. I think if this ever turns into something more, which I hope it does. Look, we all do. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're all entrepreneurs and content creators. I would love to be able to do what Joe Rogan does, right? He flies people out, they come out. You kind of spend the day with somebody, and you get to kind of get a feel for who they are. Because, other than me and you talking exactly 16 minutes ago and through emails. Outside of that, we don't know each other, which is fun, in my opinion. It's always fun meeting somebody new out of the country with different experiences than you. It's fun. But it would be cool to be able to have you come in, and then I buy you a fucking cheesesteak from Philly because that's what we're known for. And I take you out to a place that's local. Like there's a bar on the river here that has fucking 30 beers on tap, and it's nice. It's like a cool bar to go to.
Sounds like a destination almost.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, that would be cool to be able to do. But what's your thoughts on that? And from having people like sitting in front of you to what we're doing from a remote perspective.
So you're probably maybe the 5th podcast I've done remotely on this side of it. I've been guests on about 5 shows. I got another one lined up for mid-December. So this for me is fantastic. What limits me is my technical ability. I'm really not a real tech-savvy guy. I've got a recording studio just off to my right here, which saves to an SD card. I'm a musician.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm a musician, and this is a 24-track Tascam recorder. I bought it when we moved here for musical purposes. So it doubles as what I'm using it for as well. But I'm not real tech-savvy. I'm not at a position where I'm ready to buy a subscription to an online service. I actually jotted down the website you use. I'm going to check them out. I don't know what they cost, but I'm just not quite there. And so far, I've done one remote on my end. I had a guest on, and the sound just wasn't there. So I'm going to have a hard time publishing that episode. He didn't have a microphone set up properly. It's going to be tough for me to hit the publish button. But the in-person stuff is, for me, it's really personal. I got a lot of respect for what you do and a lot of the other guys and girls. I'm not ready to do that. And I'm having a lot of fun doing the legwork. And the legwork for me is finding people local that are not only interesting, but have a story to tell. Like I had a local radio personnel on. He's been east to west coast Canada doing all types of radio. And I just hit him up and I'm like, Buzz, I got a podcast and you're 2 towns over. Would you come over some Saturday morning and I want to pick your brain? He's like, absolutely. Without hesitation, he showed up. I had a local filmmaker on. Didn't know him from Adam. I just sent him a message. Hey, Sean, my name's Ty. I got a podcast in my basement. Would you come and talk to me? No problem. Just came. They did. They didn't ask. They didn't vet me.
I got a podcast in my basement. Fucking get over here.
Yeah. I got a. I don't want to spill any beans, but I got a guy seen on the news, the national Canadian news. They did a profile on him, and he's a guy who deals with counterfeit money. So he's like a world-renowned expert. I got him coming in like next week, and he lives here in town. I just sent him I had to hunt him down. Found him. Sent him a message. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Here's a link to what I've done. And he's like, shit, yeah, let's do it next Tuesday afternoon. I'm like, outstanding.
You had me at Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And I'm like, I'll do whatever you want. Like, whatever timeline works for you. No big deal.
There's something, and this was something I wanted to chat with you a little bit about, but there's something about interviewing people that... And I will say this. So the 2 softwares you should probably look at are Squadcast, which is what this one is.
Yeah, I got that wrote down.
A month. It's like $30 a month for this is like their top one. So outside of like the business, which is, it's absurd, right? And then I have buddies that use Riverside.
Yeah,
so
I use that one as well.
I couldn't use that one because it didn't play well with my mixer, and their customer service wouldn't help me. So, they're great. They're great services. They do a lot of cool stuff. This service was just bought out by Descript. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No, I'm not familiar.
They're AI, so I can actually have AI will draft all of my show notes for me. So like I can have a full-on text version of this, so people can read it if they want. Also, if you say 1,000 times, you can actually cut it totally out of the show. You would never know that it's in there. If I fuck something up, I can actually train AI with my voice I know you're not a tech guy, but
No, I'm into it. I just don't have the time to get into it. But what you're saying, I'm totally into it. I'm checking this out.
my degree's in IT, so I've always been a big tech guy. I'm kind of like the resident tech guy of my entire family. But what's really cool is they have a new feature where I could train AI with my voice. I say, this script that they have set up, whatever, trains it. And then if I happen to fuck something up and I don't like it, like I said, I'm a perfectionist, I can actually type out what I really wanted to say and have AI like cut it. And it would sound exactly like me, but it's all artificial intelligence, which is just fucking wild. It blows my mind.
We're
some of the cool shit with AI.
We're embarking upon a really unique, scary, and interesting time, I think, with what's going on with AI and the capabilities of it and everything that goes with it. You got, like Musk is working on Neuralink. All this stuff's going to be integrated. We're in for not only a bumpy ride, but a fast, accelerated, interesting journey, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did you see all the stuff that happened with OpenAI last week?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, like I say, I'm not super tech savvy. I've never been to the website, but I'm very familiar with who Sam Altman is, and I know what he's doing, and I know what happened. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
It's fucking wild because, 1 minute he's the savior, right? The next minute, and I think it's a shame because there's a struggle with OpenAI, right? Because they have the not-for-profit section and the for-profit section. And to keep a company afloat, you need to make profit.
Yeah, have to keep the shareholders happy. I mean, everything's
right?
profit-driven, right? You know this.
If you don't make money and you don't stay green and you're always in the red, you can't continue to operate unless you just constantly get angel investors, right? So I thought it was wild that he goes from, this AI savior to fired to the whole company's going to leave and they had to rehire him. Microsoft was be like, yo, just go over here, man. Like he was going to get a job. It's not like he wasn't going to get hired anywhere. But when they brought him back, because the whole company, like, I feel like they said like 75 or 80 or it might even more percent of the company was just going to walk out and quit.
And likely follow him to Microsoft.
And likely go to Microsoft. So, Microsoft has, $10 billion invested into OpenAI. So if they could just get their whole workforce for free, I mean, I feel like it's a win-win for them. But, obviously he came back and I think it was the whole board stepped down, right?
I'm not super familiar with that end of it, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
I think the whole board stepped down because that was their thing. And I think I think that's a great way. Honestly, I know it sounds like a lot of turmoil, but for me, I pay $20 a month for the OpenAI. I use it every day at work. But I think that they want to protect the world from AI. And they're, I guess, at this point, the leading AI company, right? There's going to be a million more of them as we go.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But there was recent news from people inside of the company, and I don't know if you saw this, but they actually have, people are saying they've attained AGI, which is the actual point where artificial intelligence is, it's not like, hey, do this for me, whatever. It's like, it's like talking to another person. It's actual intelligence. And they've been saying that AGI is something that we're not going to be able to hit for years, like we're years away. Well, people are saying no, they have a project inside OpenAI that has attained AGI status and it's a danger to the world.
Yeah, you want to believe it's a danger to the world. And I'm not anti any of this. I think we've seen this coming for maybe upwards of 70 years. I feel like maybe the Jetsons on TV kind of predicted this type of stuff, right? You were going to interface with Rosie the robot. Your boss is going to be a million light years away. You're still going to do a meeting like we're doing right now with the help of these types of technologies. We'd be a fool to not realize it's going to happen. We just have to be smart about it, because if we don't, we're going to lose a lot of employment. And I mean, and I'm not saying I'm anti-government, but you got to make sure that it's regulated correctly for the betterment of all of us, and that it can't just run rampant. But we can still use it and integrate it in our life and be productive with it, I think.
And I think it has to be like a world thing.
It can't just be North America. We all have to be on the same page. And there's a couple 3 countries that are not going to play ball. They're going to do what they want. I'm not going to say the names, but I mean, if you've read a newspaper recently, you know these countries, and they're just going to do everything they can to make it difficult for the countries that want to better it for all of us. England, Canada, the States, lots of these other countries, Australia. Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, because, I mean, at the end of the day, half of these technologies, what they're trying to do with them are going to be, used in military excavations in some capacity. They're already using them in things like drones, and having them be able to make the decisions that a human could make or couldn't make, but in a very short. It's like here's my worry when it comes to utilizing AI in general and having it unprotected. Right, it's going to get into hands of people that shouldn't have it. It's going to be put into military devices that it shouldn't be in, and with humans, there's black and white, but there's gray. Right, and I think from a human perspective, that makes us unique in that we have decisions that good, bad, but also kind of play that line. And with computers and AI, there's no line. There's a line, right? It's black and white. There's no gray area unless, maybe you could program that into AI. I mean, I don't know enough about AI to know you could program a gray area and make them more human-esque. But in a lot of stuff that I see and read, it's like, hey, you're supposed to hate, this group of people, go kill them. It's not going to be like, oh, well, that's a husband, a wife, and 2 kids. It's going to be like, that's the people I need to kill, and kill them all with zero prejudice.
Yeah, but where's the line for that? Are we gonna? Are you thinking that you want to program compassion into that, and the ability to decide right from wrong? Like, who's the governing body onto this stuff? I'm not even suggesting that there should be. Maybe there should. Maybe there shouldn't. But who's in charge of this stuff, and who's determining what's good and what's bad? You know what I mean? Like, This is the moral dilemma that we might not be facing this exact moment, but like, you forward the clock 12, 24 months. Right? This shit's gonna just multiply daily, weekly, and within a few years it might be out of control. But I don't know how you rein that in or regulate it. I don't know.
I don't think you can, dude.
I don't know that you can either. You just have to let your ethics and morals dictate what's okay and not okay. But I mean, a couple bad apples can ruin it for everybody. I mean, what the hell do you do?
Think about it. Look, how old are you, Ty?
35.
All right, you're my age. I just turned 37. So you remember a time where if you didn't want to go see a movie or buy a brand new CD, you could go to a popular thing back in the day and you could just download it and with zero repercussions, right? And it started with, those popular softwares like, LimeWire and Napster and shit, right? And then it moved into... And then it starts to get regulated. We're like, no, you can't do that. If we find that you do that, you could be subject to, lawsuits for each song or each movie or whatever, right? Then people got smart and created torrents. And it was a kind of a person-by-person system where you were only downloading a piece from each person that eventually made up the full song or the full movie.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, so torrents were wild in that you had a host that had the content, but they would put it out and other people would download it, and then you would download it from all of those other people piece by piece. You weren't downloading the full thing, so it was harder to really track. Unless the government threw trackers in there and anyone that downloaded that piece. That's kind of where it started to get, obviously the government started to get smart and regulations started to come in. But I think there's always going to be a way around it. And I think it's scary and exciting at the same time.
Depending on where you are in the spectrum, though, if you are a non-educated worker in the workforce doing manual reproductive things, repetitive, not reproductive, you're doing repetitive motions in a factory, you probably should be concerned by this.
This is Take on the World with
Johnny.
and Mike. And, people always ask me, hey, you got a podcast? What's it about?
I don't know. You ever want to cut your fingers off or learn about a sharp knife?
We could tell you that.
How about murder mysteries or hauntings or any kind of fringe subject?
Anything you could think of. We take on everything because we take on the world.
Now you go take on the world.
Because these types of things will replace those jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
But it doesn't sound
AI
it doesn't sound like you're in that boat, Rob. It sounds like you're an educated individual that might be making these programs, perhaps. And in my line of work, I'm fixing the robots that do these jobs, so I'm okay. But if you're uneducated, not that there's anything wrong with being uneducated, but if that's what you do, you're doing manual, uneducated labor. That those jobs are going to cease to exist, and I'll die on that hill. That's a fact.
No, 100%. I agree with you. I think though with innovation, you're always going to see jobs go away, right? I mean, look at what happened with. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. It's like, you had the invention as soon as factories came out, right? You had your workers that would hand things off to people, right? And then the conveyor belt was developed, and then the people that handed shit down, their jobs were gone. And then but I think as you have innovation, you see that, but it also adds jobs. So with AI,
different jobs.
So with AI, I think you're going to see a lot more. I like to call them interpreters. So you're going to see a lot more AI interpreters, people that can effectively talk to the AI to get the result that they want. And I don't think you need to be educated with that. I think you just need to be specialized in being able to talk to a computer.
Yeah, just trained.
And
take a course or whatever requires, and yeah, I don't disagree with you one bit.
I think it sounds harder than it would be, but I feel like as we move more and more from the ones and zeros to being able to speak to a computer with English, Spanish, Portuguese, whatever language, right? I think as we move forward, you're going to see jobs develop that didn't exist before, but probably not as many as the jobs it's going to eliminate. It's going to eliminate, a lot of new coders eliminated, right? Because you're just going to need somebody that knows the basics already that can speak to the AI to get them the advanced stuff. Your basic coder is going to be a little fucked. They're going to have to pivot. You're always going to need coders and people that can understand code because code is fucking crazy. I took a couple classes in code, and Java's. You miss one fucking colon, semicolon, the whole thing doesn't work. It's a wild concept. You'd think smart people would develop systems that were easier to use.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I scratch my head every day wondering who designed this, whose idea was this, and how did they do it based off of, this is pretty stupid, whatever that may be. Yeah, I totally get it.
Well, you're a musician, which I didn't know going into this. So, there's got to be instances where as a musician, you're like, why didn't we just do it this way? It would make more sense.
Yeah, totally get it. Absolutely. But that's part of the creative mind. I feel like sometimes it's the things that you don't do maybe is what sets you apart from what you are doing. If that makes sense, I don't even know, but. Yeah,
and look, man, I don't know if you've seen it, recently, but I really think AI is going to play a big part in the music too. There's been some crazy shit with, I like all types of music. I like rock. I like rap. Country, I'm a little.
I know it's tough to get into it sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's a mood type of music, but I like 80s, 90s, 70s. I like just a vast array of music. But you can see how AI. I've listened to some crazy AI songs that created out of nowhere, utilized someone else like Drake or Miley Cyrus or whatever, right? And create a whole song that sounds just like them with lyrics that they would use and beats or guitar or whatever. And it just it blows my mind what is being created. And I mean, look, I'm sure it would fuck with you, because if you create something that's unique and then you could just easily create it. Yeah, I don't even need to be that person to create that unique music. That would be fucking wild to me.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. So I need to clarify. I am a musician, but that's not what I do for a living. So I don't have a lot of skin in this part of the game. I do feel bad for full-time musicians that this is what they do, knowing full well that in maybe less than 10 years they might be deemed redundant for the recording side. I mean, I don't know that live music will ever go anywhere. The ability to go see somebody on a stage, whether it's a local performer or your favorite band on the biggest stage in the country, that probably won't go anywhere. But, I seen on the news the other day that they were able to finish off an unrecorded Beatles song. I mean, John Lennon's been dead for a long time. Harrison's been dead for a while, and they stopped recording it halfway through, and they were able to surmise the rest of it from pre-existing recordings and finish off this song. I heard it. I couldn't tell where they started and stopped the real recording and what was AI and what wasn't. You just can't tell. I mean,
it's fucking wild.
It's
right?
wild, right? So it's interesting you bring up music and AI. So I work as industrial mechanic. So I fix machines, conveyors, air compressors. That's what I do for a living. And I work at a rather large concrete facility. We make concrete, put it in the trucks that spin, and they drive away, and they do build bridges and roads and stuff. One of our drivers, he's a pretty tech-savvy guy, and he asked OpenAI to write a song about being a concrete delivery truck driver. Instantaneously, it spits out, we asked it to do it in the style of heavy metal, and instantly it spits it out, a sheet and a half of lyrics. And I read it, and it said something of like up top. It didn't actually write the music, but it suggested, think of the lyrics as if it was like a Black Sabbath song. And then I read all the lyrics. They made total sense. Everything about the song was about being a truck driver that delivers concrete. Like every sentence made sense. All the verses tied together. Everything. It was a totally coherent song. And it suggested up top that to think of it as like a Black Sabbath type tune. It took like 4 seconds. He said, as soon as he hit enter, the printer kicked on and it printed it out like simultaneously.
It's wild how it does it, dude. And I will say this, okay? I'm one of those people. I always like to be on the good side of things. So if AI ever takes over, it would pity me in some way. So I use OpenAI all the time. I always put please when I ask it to do. And I know I don't need to do that because it's a computer or a robot or whatever. But I always say please. Listen, if that shit ever takes over, I bet you less than 1% ask it please when it's doing something. So maybe I won't be liquidated when AI takes over.
Well, it's
maybe I'll just be, who fucking knows.
It's interesting you say that. So, I don't want to get into it. I'm not pro Amazon. I don't shop on Amazon, but we have one of those music boxes that you can ask it to check the weather and shit. And when my girls were young, I told them to keep up their manners. Hey Alexa, please tell me the weather. Hey Alexa, please tell me what time it is. And I told them, I said, man, just use your manners. Pretend it like it's a human being, because like you just don't know who's behind that voice. Maybe there is somebody there. Which in my opinion is basically first generation AI, really. Or second generation AI. I mean, really it is. Excuse me, between like Siri and Galaxy on the Android devices. That, I mean, is that not basically artificial intelligence? You ask it questions, it just spits out answers.
It was close, man. It was definitely the start of the beginning, and I will say it's from a creepy level perspective.
I mean, I don't like it.
It listens.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like it, but I mean, when you want to hear a tune, you want to hear a tune.
It listens. I listen to it every night. This shit, I see it. It's fucking blinking right now. It's sending all its shit back to Amazon. It's like, this motherfucker doesn't like us.
That's fine.
But it's It's wild that I can say something out loud if I'm talking to my fiance, if I'm talking to you, if I'm just talking in general, and then the moment I get on my phone, I have a fucking marketing ad that's based around what I just fucking talked about. That's the shit that I get creeped the fuck out when I see that shit.
You
I'm
should.
like,
It
I
is
didn't search it.
creepy. It is creepy. You should be creeped out by that. We all should
And
be.
it's in all their disclaimers that no one fucking reads because they're 37 pages. You just hit accept. No one fucking reads that. I you know what? I have a producer. I'm gonna make him clip this shit and put it on TikTok and see how many people actually read the legal fucking terms. And do you watch South Park?
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Do you remember that episode?
I don't remember that one, but I'm telling you, South Park is aging very well.
Do me a favor. When we are done this episode,
Absolutely.
go look up the they had a episode. I have no idea where it was. It was about the disclaimers, and it was Apple specifically. And they were hitting accept, and all this crazy shit started happening. There's like, well, you just signed away your rights. Like, I didn't know. They're like, oh, you didn't read this? And they're like going down. Like, just watch. It's fucking, how they did it was epic.
Yeah,
How they
yeah, I'll
did was
check
so
that
good.
out. Yeah, my wife and I don't mind watching South Park when the kids go to bed. It's all right, and I'm amazed how well it's aging. I mean, so I fell out of it. So we're the same age basically. So when it first came out, it was super edgy. I remember parents saying, don't go over to Jimmy's house if they're watching that stuff. The swear words and the violence and all that. So now I'm an adult. I mean, nobody can tell me what to do now, anyways. But yeah.
And they always make fun of Canada.
Oh yeah, big time.
Like every other episode.
Terrence and Phillip. I still think Terrence and Phillip are a couple of the best characters on that show, with a bar none.
absolutely.
Fantastic, yeah. But yeah, I'm really impressed. So I went many years without watching it, and then maybe 6 or 8 months ago we started watching it again. Some of the COVID episodes and whatever else. It's brilliant the way that they were able to stay so current and still keep it interesting without getting stale. That's the marker of a good show for me, is that it stays current and it's not stale.
Yeah, and they are not afraid to tackle making fun of Trump. They made fun of him for like 2 seasons. They still make fun of him.
Well, it's good TV. It's hilarious, because if you don't make fun of him, he's going to make fun of himself. So beat him to the punch, right?
They did amazing. I think the episode, by the way, if anyone that's listening,
I'm writing those down.
You want to find, it's called Human Centipede. Is the name of the episode, and it is the first episode of the 15th season. Oh my god, it has to deal with do you ever see the Human Centipede?
No, but I know what it is.
So apparently in this episode, Kyle is kidnapped after agreeing to an iTunes user agreement, and he's forced to become part of a revolutionary new product that is about to be launched by Apple. So I'll stop there.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll check it out. Absolutely. I'm always down for a good
it's
giggle before bed.
So let's talk a little bit more about your podcast. I know.
Sure.
What type of content do you enjoy? Because I saw you had some episodes, like your first episode was more of a trailer, and then you had your first full episode. But you had a couple episodes that were like 4 or 5 minutes, and then you had an hour. You had an hour and 15. Do you like the long form style or the short form? What's kind of like your sweet spot?
So that's an interesting question. I assumed this was going to be easier. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought this, for me, was going to be easy. So when I'm in that hotel room last November talking to my brother and our friend Spencer and the other guys that were in the room, and they suggested you should do a podcast, I had just finished off like a 10-minute rant about the rah, 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 rah. So I just assumed, well, I could do that at home, no big deal. I just hit record on my studio, and I should be able to talk about why I love this, or how come that's fucked, or how could this be better. I just assumed I could. And then I hit the record button, and I'm like, ooh. And it didn't come. It just didn't come. So the first few are solo episodes. So all of the solo ones are 7 or 8 minutes and less. A couple of them are a whole heap shorter than I thought they were going to be because I chewed through my material so fast. Whether I spoke too fast, I'm not so sure. But I like both. I enjoy freewheeling on my own. So I write out the solo episodes almost like in an essay format. I kind of get my opinions across, what I think about certain things. I write them out. They're not rehearsed. Generally, they're done in 1 or 2 takes based off of an essay I had written, which in my mind I'm telling me will be another chapter in my book that I haven't started yet.
Yeah.
But
Hey, look, it's never too late. It's never too late.
It's not too late. I've started. These episodes are chapters of my book.
I've interviewed a bunch of authors, which, by the way, at this point in, I'm at almost 60 episodes. This might be episode 60 or 59. I thoroughly enjoy interviewing authors because they have an interesting perspective on their creative process, where they go to write their book, how they've written their book, and it's just there's like even Marcy that I just interviewed my last episode, which. If you want to listen to or read a really interesting story and life lesson of all the things that she went through as a human being, there's something natural or human about the experience of putting your experience or your thoughts onto pages and having someone else read either your most intimate stories or whatever. And I encourage you, man, just keep it going. You'll get there, even if it's chapter by chapter. But authors are and people who are creative like that, they're a lot of fun to talk to, just because you never know where that creative juice is coming from. Everybody's different.
So I certainly appreciate the encouragement. I don't intend on giving up. It's been a running joke for anybody that knows me or knows me well. It's been a running joke that I say I'm going to write a book, and I'm kind of working on it. But that's the way I'm treating it. I still do want to do it. Not that anybody's even going to read my book, but I feel like I've got some good stories and I have good information to give out, if that's the right word. And what I've done in my life, I feel like is interesting to the right person. I maybe not the other guy or the other girl. They might not like it, but then just don't read it. But it is a bit of a selfish endeavor, and thus the podcast came out. So, in a long-winded way to answer your question, I enjoy doing both. I just would have thought the solo stuff would have been longer. So far, it's not. I just that's a hard thing to do, riffing on your own. It's not an easy thing to do. The solo episodes I do, nobody else is in the room, so I'm just talking into a microphone and hoping it sounds okay. But I love talking to people. Like this for me is a hoot. I did a podcast last week. I had a riot with those guys. Did one a while ago. Just all kinds of fun, and let the conversation go organically. Nobody's pushing it. There's no agendas. I'm trying to help you, and by me helping you, you're helping out me. Hopefully, we get a couple listeners. Hopefully, some of my listeners coming to your show. Like this is what it's all about, and it's power in numbers for me. Like why not, right? What the hell?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we're all creators. And, one thing, I went from, and a lot of my listeners know this, but I went from streaming video games to podcasting. And it was based on people always telling me, let's go. People telling me that I had like a radio voice or a podcaster voice. And, streaming was great. I was making a little bit of money. I'm not making any money doing this right now currently. It wasn't the content I wanted to make. And I'm a talker. I like meeting new people. And for me, the interview style podcast was attractive in that I could meet people from all over the world. And I have. I mean, I've interviewed people all over the United States, Canada, Australia, Germany, Ireland, Japan, you name it. I've interviewed people from all over the world. And it's fun, because you get to see a side of things that you wouldn't normally get to see. getting guests can be difficult sometimes, and coordinating, especially when you're doing like, different countries and coordinating times that work for both people and having people show up, because obviously we're doing this and I'm not paying people, you're not paying anybody, so they're doing this to promote themselves, and it helps you, and it's like this give and take, right? And I love the interview format. I don't know if I could do a solo episode. I've never done a solo episode.
It's tricky.
I could talk for a while, I'm sure. I don't know how coherent it would be.
So it's interesting, Rob, you bring up your love for speaking and your voice. Your voice is very reminiscent of the guest I had on a couple months ago, who was a radio DJ. He was in West.
Oh, nice.
He was Western Canada all the way to Eastern Canada, major cities, wildly successful morning shows. He met every rock star that came through the country, and his voice is very much like yours. A little bit raspy, but clear and concise. No mispronounced words. So I could see why you're comfortable doing this, because if Buzz is comfortable, you guys sound exactly the same. In my opinion, and you do speak well, so you should keep up with it, and no doubt you're doing well, because you sound confident.
I appreciate that, man. And look, I will say this: this month, the current month we're in, November of 23, this is my highest downloaded month. So,
well, good for you.
It's a wild thing seeing, like, when you first start, and like, listen, if you're a brand new podcaster or you're a podcaster listening to this, my advice to people is just keep going. Just keep going. I just put out content every week. I do my thing. In the beginning, I put out 2 episodes a week. That was too much. I couldn't keep it. It was like impossible to keep up with editing and making sure that everything was good. One episode a week is easiest for me to be able to keep up with, because I do have a full-time job.
Even that is a little on the difficult side.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to put stuff on socials and get awareness. That Reddit group, the podcast Reddit group, was a nice savior for me, because I met so many people that I talk to daily from that group. I mean, I've met 4 or 5 people that I talk to every single day.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
More than my real friends.
It's a really good resource that every show that I've guested on has come from that subreddit. Just you throw your hat in the ring, and then it's like a little mini resume. Here's who I am. Here's a link to what I do, and just like you did, a couple days later, you say, "Hey, let's do this." And if that's your vetting process, then it worked out well. And everyone I've been on to has been fairly successful. I mean, I don't know what the download numbers are, and maybe later you and I could chat about that. I would be very interested to know what kind of numbers we're talking. Not that it's important. I would do this even if you had 4 listeners. But it's a great resource for people like you and I that are clearly not I'm clearly not making a red cent off any of it. And I probably never will. I do it because I like it, and I value this, and thus I decided to spend my Tuesday night with you, because this is what I enjoy doing. The beer is just the icing on top.
Yeah, it's a reason to drink on a Tuesday, right? But I'll tell you this, and this is how I know I enjoy it. Okay, there'll be times where I have an interview lined up, and I'll start the day, I'll be positive, and then by 3 or 4 o'clock, I'm like, man, I could cancel it, go home, and just relax, because there's a lot of stress, I think, that people don't realize. Like all this, like I have lighting and my green screen, and I do it a little unique. I mean, my living area is right behind me, so I just put up my green screen. I don't do anything crazy with it. It's simple, right? But I know that when that thought hits my head, I'm like, no, I'm doing this because I enjoy it, and it brightens the rest of my evening, because I know, hey, I'm coming home, I'm gonna talk to somebody. I have some questions. I listen to their content. I get to kind of get a feel for who they are, and then I learn things, and I don't know, man. It's like it's like old school going to a bar and meeting somebody and talking to them over a drink, if that makes sense.
Oh, I mean, that's what we're doing, and
Yeah.
and this is the most primary way to get thoughts and opinions across is have a conversation about it. I'm not going to email you what I think about something. Let's talk about it, because you might be able to rebut and say, well, your idea is valid, but what about this, this, and this? Now we've got a legitimate discussion going on, and we can come up with a solution or a better idea. Maybe we can reinvent the wheel, or we can do any of these things. But you have to have the dialogue first.
Yeah, and it's fun when I get to interview someone that is also a podcaster too, because I think they understand what it's like to carry a conversation. Because sometimes even if it's someone that is doing the something that's online or whatever, sometimes people get scared, and the interview can be a little trying, and I'm sure you can attest to this. But
Big time.
like someone you think could be a really good interview, they're very timid, especially in the beginning, and that's you'll laugh, but that's the reason why I kind of started the drink clock. In that I'm thinking to myself, well, what opens people up to conversation? It's booze. It's always booze.
And it always will be, and it always has been, and it always will be.
What starts your conversation in the first 20 minutes, by the end, it's a totally different conversation.
Yeah, big time.
And I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's tricky because I have had instances that started off poorly, but turned out great. And what you say, I had one guy come in, and I had to show him he'd never really fooled around with a mic before, so he didn't really know what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, so I'm using this mic, but you're using that one, so do this, stay this far away, and that's damn hard to do. Because this boom is only for me. My guests are on the couch across from me with just a music style microphone. So it doesn't follow you, right? And it's not real easy to move around. So I'm like, oh, well, sorry, but, try your best to keep it this far away, or you know what I mean? And
yeah,
excuse me. And that's almost half the battle right there is to, coach them as you're going. Like, just keep going. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Cough. Go ahead. No big deal. I'll mute it or leave it in. I don't really edit a whole lot. I just get rid of, loud noises. Or if somebody says, and then it's 10 seconds. I'll edit that out, but other than that, I leave it in. Go for it. This is, and I don't even call them interviews. I just call them conversations. I try not to do an interview type thing, and I just try to keep the conversation going with questions, and generally I'm in the driver's seat of the conversation, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah. Hey, look, I mean,
just as you are right now, you're in the driver's seat, directing things, and we're just you pose a question and then we discuss it, and then that's what I try to do, but I don't call them interviews.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing because when I first started, I had 50 questions at all times. Yeah, I would do so much research that my first 4 or 5 episodes were good, but I feel like it wasn't as organic. So what I started to do after a certain amount of time is I would just have I don't typically do more than 10 things on my little list here. But they're just key points that I know that I eventually want to either talk about or at some point discuss. Of course, my alarm's going off. At some point discuss and at least bring up. And I will tell you now at this point, I don't even need that much. I could probably do 4 or 5 and be totally fine. And the conversation is just much more organic that way. And half the time I don't get to the shit I want to talk about anyway. I have 4 other things I know I'm not going to get to talk about with you because we're already hitting almost the hour mark.
It's too bad. It's too bad. Sorry to interrupt. That you got another show.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that we got to cut this off early because you got something else to do. But I'll just come back another time.
No, absolutely. I mean, my shows, and that's the other thing. In the beginning, I would go an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I've found that the hour-ish, hour to hour 15, is it's almost like the perfect timing, because that's a ride to work for some people, and that's how I look at it.
That's me.
So
I'm right between an hour and 15 to work, and then you're done.
Yeah, and I try not to go that much more. And I could go, like, I love conspiracy theories, and I've interviewed a couple guys. I could go for 3 hours probably and talking about it because I'm fascinated by, because it's almost like, you know, everyone has their own interpretation of things, and I could talk about it for hours, and I have to stop myself because if I don't, I'm not at a point where I'm like Joe Rogan where I'm interviewing The Rock, you know, where, yeah, you could talk for 3 hours with her. I would talk for 3 hours.
That was a terrible episode, wasn't it?
I listened to the first hour and I'm like, it just, I think the problem with The Rock, and I don't want to go too far into this, but I think the problem with The Rock is he has this image now where it's almost like Kevin Hart. Like Kevin, I don't know if you like Kevin Hart, he's a Philadelphia product comedian.
Yeah, I know who he is.
His initial stuff was so good because it was edgy and he said things that fucked with people. And now he's so just...
Well, Hollywood. He made it to Hollywood. Yeah. He got bought out.
Mainstream.
So my problem with the Rogan and Rock episode, they just spent 2.5 hours just stroking each other's ego. That's all they did. Just talked about how great they were and how awesome the other guy was and high-fiving each other and talking about just being wealthy. Anyways, I know exactly what you're getting at. I know what you mean. Sorry to interrupt. That episode bothered the fuck out of me, that's all.
And it sucks because he has a lot of episodes that are really good with like scientists and stuff like that I'm really into. And I thought the Rock one would be pretty good, but it's almost like it was an episode for celebrities.
That's exactly.
Other celebrities to listen to.
That's exactly what it was. That's all that was. And it's a shame because I know Dwayne Johnson is an interesting guy. You know, and I'm a wrestling nerd from back in the, you know, the 90s into the early 2000s. You know, he's got stuff to talk about. People like me, it could have been a cliffhanger, but they chose not to. They just stroked each other's ego, which I didn't like. Anyways, sorry to interrupt.
I'd ask him a million questions, man. That was when I don't like wrestling now, but that's when I watched wrestling.
Sure.
You know, Undertaker, when Kane still had a mask and you didn't know who he was, and who was the crazy dude with the fucking sock on his hand?
Mick Foley, Mankind.
Mick Foley, Mankind. Just a crazy cage. Like, that was like the golden age for a lot of things. It was
fantastic. It was great stuff. Must-see TV.
And, big time. What do you think of CM Punk coming back?
You know what? I don't really follow it too much anymore, but I will admit I am aware that he came back.
I don't follow it anymore either, and I just saw that, and I didn't realize he had like a 9-year absence, and it was like a big deal. People were freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, so I don't watch it too much, but yeah, I might tune in maybe this Friday, maybe get caught up, or next Monday and watch Raw just to catch up on the soap opera. We'll see how it goes.
I think that's what they're planning on. They want us
to
come back. The 35 to 40-year-olds that, you know, was like the golden age. They want us back. And most of the guys I watched are long gone.
But we're a big demographic though. There's a whole lot of us. It's not just you and I. There's all kinds of us.
They need to start fucking catering to us and none of this fucking millennial bullshit. No offense. I have a lot of people that are young that listen, but we'll say, look, I'm a millennial. You're a millennial.
Yeah, I
We're
am.
not.
We're not. We're basically,
okay.
We're young Gen Xers.
Yes,
I
100%.
definitely feel and align more with the Gen X. I just do. I don't relate one bit to the millennials. Even though you and I are on the older side of the millennial scale, I don't identify them. And I even hate saying that, but nothing when they say something about millennials, I'm like, that's not me. My birth date in 1988 would dictate that yes, indeed I am, but they don't reflect my values one bit.
No, I remember times when cell phones didn't exist.
Yeah, so do I.
That's a Gen Xer shit, bro. That's not millennial shit.
I know. I'm with you. 100%. I've always said that I'm 10 years younger than I look, feel, and act.
It's a wild concept to think that, but I know that it can't just be me and you. I'm sure there's a million other people that are in the same boat as us, where it's like, I don't identify with millennials because to a certain degree, a lot of people, I don't know where it stops, where the birth date stops for millennials. But
Yeah.
when I found out, I think is it 82 or 83 or 85? I
For
forget where it
for the Gen
starts.
Xer, it's early 80s, I believe. So you've got millennials that are that are basically 40 right now. And I don't know, there's no way that they feel the same way. They feel the same way that you and I do. We don't reflect the values of traditional millennials.
No, we just can't, and I don't think I probably ever will. But look, we're hitting that time, and I really appreciate the conversation. But let's tune it back to your podcast. Where can everybody find your content? And do you have any plans for the future? I know you had mentioned something, so tell us a little bit about what's going on, and hopefully we can get some people to listen to your show.
So I'm at the Tie That Binds podcast. All major podcast platforms. We're talking Amazon, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google if it's still doing it. I'm not so sure. All the Stitcher, all the major platforms. I don't do YouTube and I don't do any video. It's strictly an audio thing. So yeah, I would appreciate anybody if you're interested in me. If you've liked what you've heard. I've got some opinions. I've got some stuff coming up that it's exciting to me. Hopefully everyone else finds it exciting. So yeah, check it out. We got I said earlier we got a guest coming in who's a coin expert. I'm working on I don't want to say it right now, but I'm working on a pretty cool project doing voiceover work. So
cool.
Yeah, so when that goes through, we'll hook up, or I can get you a link and check it out. It's a movie about the town that I'm in, but my town's fairly significant for a pretty cool reason. Not like it's a dump or anything. So I'm working with a local guy on that, and we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing over here, talking to cool people, expanding the essays that I'm thinking in my head of opinions and ideas and things that are important to me. I don't have anything concrete. You mentioned something about podcasting. I got a whole bunch of notes over there about my favorite podcast. So I'm going to do an episode just of the podcast that I listen to. I've been doing a binge lately where I listen to smaller podcasts, independents like yourself and myself, and guys and girls that are just doing it. Excuse me, that's the goddamn beer. People that are just doing it independently, not making any money, but they're producing good content. So I'm going to give them all shout outs. So I got an episode of that coming out, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And hopefully we get some more listeners. I mean, I'm not sitting on huge numbers. What I do have is a loyal, small fan base. I don't know if they're pity listens or if they're listens of people that are genuinely interested. I'm not sure. I haven't quite separated the wheat from the chaff yet, but so people like you are big helps to me. I know your audience is bigger than mine, so this for me has been a real pleasure. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, dude. Look, I really appreciate having you on. And look, I listened to some of your episodes. You produce some great content. Just keep doing your thing, man.
Thank you.
I think for me, and when I always talk to other podcasters, my thing is don't deter from what you want to create.
I agree.
Because
Totally agree.
The whole reason I did this is to create something that's mine, and I could say or do whatever the fuck I want, and I don't want people to judge me. Now, look, yeah, I have opinions that probably aren't the national opinion, but that's what I think for us as millennials. Us as people born in the fucking mid to late 80s. I feel like there's not a lot of that anymore. And for me, It's about being able to have a conversation with people. You can disagree and still be friends with people and have intellectual conversations. And that's why I wanted to do this, because I'm not going to get fucking banned, and whatever. If YouTube bans me, fuck them. I don't care. I don't.
You just go somewhere else.
I just do. Yeah, I do this because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy having the conversations, and I enjoy being able to speak my mind without having the masses tell me I'm wrong or whatever. Right now, look, don't be a fucking racist. All right, we're past that shit. Okay, but you can have your own opinion. Apple, Android, whatever. You could be on a different side and it be okay, and you still be friends with people. And that's my show. But you can find my podcast anywhere. Drink O'Clock Pod on all socials. It's drinkoclock.beer is my website. You have an awesome logo, which I will have up on my website, drinkoclock.beer. Episodes are published. I try to get them done and posted for Thursdays at 7 a.m. Eastern time. So hopefully I have some time. I'll have this up and ready to go for Thursday. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you get it 24 hours in advance. So hopefully I'll have this ready to go for my Patreon subscribers as well. Also, I'm a member of the Deluxe Edition Network. So it's kind of a collective of other podcasts. Really great guys. I mean, they've done a lot for me, and they really do a lot of great stuff. And it would behoove me to not mention Podcast of the Month in the network I'm in. So for November, it's Beard Laws, Matt, fucking awesome guy, great content, amazing beard, and Take on the World, really great people. And if you want to check them out, you can go to Deluxe Edition Network. You can Google that anywhere. Or go to their website, which is deluxeeditionnetwork.com. So we're going to end that there, dude. It's a pleasure having you on.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for hanging out, man.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Awesome, dude. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great night.